For decades, Volkswagen wasn't just another car company. It was a cultural icon, a symbol of trust, brilliant German engineering, and that unspoken promise of quality you could feel the moment you closed the door. From the iconic Beetle to the dependable Passat, VW built a global empire on reliability and a kind of folksy charm. They were, after all, the people's car. So how did that very brand, a brand practically built on trust, get caught in a deliberate billion-dollar lie? A lie that poisoned our air, shattered its reputation, and reached the highest levels of the company. The answer isn't just a simple story of corporate greed, it's a detective story. And it doesn't start in a fancy boardroom in Germany, but on a quiet university campus in West Virginia. By the early 2000s, Volkswagen was a giant, but it was obsessed with becoming the undisputed #1 automaker on the planet. To get there, they had to conquer the one market that always gave them trouble, the United States. And to do that, VW had a secret weapon, a technology that sounded almost too good to be true. They called it clean diesel. The promise was intoxicating. For years, diesel engines in the US were seen as dirty, loud, and sluggish, something you'd find in a big rig, not a family car. But Volkswagen claimed they'd cracked the code. Their new line of TDI, or turbocharged direct injection, diesel engines seemed to offer the best of everything. They were quiet, powerful, fun to drive, and most importantly, they delivered amazing fuel economy while supposedly producing emissions as clean as gasoline cars. It was a marketing masterpiece. Commercials showed happy, eco-conscious drivers proud of their choice. The cars themselves, like the Jetta, Golf, and Passat, won award after award. Volkswagen wasn't just selling cars, it was selling a revolution. You could have a vehicle that was both frugal and fun, responsible and peppy. This was VW's golden ticket, and for a while it worked. Sales shot up. Loyal customers became brand evangelists, convinced they had made the smartest choice possible. Volkswagen was on top of the world. What no one knew was that the entire revolution was a sophisticated fraud. The whole thing started to unravel almost by accident in 2013. A small nonprofit called the International Council on Clean Transportation, ICCT, had a simple idea. They wanted to prove to US regulators that clean diesel technology like VW's was the real deal. So they commissioned a study. They needed a team that could test emissions not just in a lab but out on the open road. They found that team at a place few would expect, West Virginia University and its Center for Alternative Fuels, Engines, and Emissions, CAFE. The university had developed a brilliant piece of kit, a portable emissions lab that could fit in a car's trunk and analyze its exhaust in real time. The plan was simple. The WVU team rented 3 diesel cars, a BMW X5, a 2012 VW Jetta, and a 2013 VW Passat. They hooked up their gear and went for a long drive across California, capturing data from highways and city streets. When the data came in from the BMW, everything looked fine. But when they looked at the data from the 2 Volkswagens, nothing made sense. On the road, the Jetta was spewing out nitrogen oxides, or NOx, a toxic gas that causes smog and respiratory problems, at levels 15 to 35 times the legal limit. The Passat was sometimes even worse, hitting 40 times the permitted amount. The numbers were so astronomically high that the researchers' first reaction was that their equipment had to be broken. It seemed impossible. These were new cars, certified by one of the world's most respected automakers. They couldn't possibly be this dirty. The team checked their instruments, recalibrated everything, and ran the tests again. The results were the same. The cars were clean in the lab, but an environmental disaster on the road. Something was deeply wrong. That small team in West Virginia had stumbled onto a crime they couldn't yet imagine. In May 2014, they published their findings and sent the report to the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, and the powerful California Air Resources Board, CARB. The clock was now ticking on Volkswagen's billion-dollar lie. When the WVU report landed on the desks of regulators at CARB, they were baffled. How could a car pass its official lab certification with flying colors, only to become a gross polluter the second it hit real pavement? Armed with the data, CARB called Volkswagen in for a meeting. What followed wasn't a confession, but a masterclass in corporate stonewalling that lasted for over a year. VW's engineers had an answer for everything. They blamed technical glitches, suggested the specific cars tested were faulty, and questioned the reliability of the on-road equipment. It was a frustrating game of cat and mouse. CARB would present data, and VW would offer a new excuse. To create the appearance of acting in good faith, VW even initiated a voluntary recall in late 2014 to install a software update. But when CARB tested the fixed cars, they discovered the infuriating truth. The emissions were still way too high. The recall was a sham. That was the turning point. The patience of the regulators had run out. This wasn't incompetence, it was clear that VW was being dishonest. In the summer of 2015, CARB and the EPA delivered an ultimatum. Unless Volkswagen gave them a full, truthful explanation, they would not certify a single one of VW's new 2016 diesel cars for sale in the US. Volkswagen was cornered. Losing certification would be a public relations nightmare and a commercial catastrophe. The pressure was immense. Finally, on September 3, 2015, Volkswagen cracked. A company official admitted the truth. It wasn't a glitch or a faulty part. It was a deliberate, sophisticated cheat. The company confessed to installing a defeat device in its diesel engines. It was a brilliant and deeply cynical piece of software. The car's computer was programmed to know when it was being tested. It monitored things that would only happen in a lab setting, like the steering wheel staying perfectly still while the engine speed varied. When the software detected a test, it switched the car into a special low-emissions test mode, activating the full suite of pollution controls. But the moment the test was over and the car was on a real road, the software secretly switched to a different mode, dialing back or shutting down those controls entirely. Why? Because running the emissions controls properly hurt the engine's performance and fuel economy. To deliver on the marketing promise of powerful, efficient, clean diesel cars, Volkswagen chose to program their cars to cheat. They were only clean when they knew someone was watching. The private confession was just the beginning. On September 18, 2015, the EPA went public, holding a press conference that sent shockwaves through the business world. The fallout was immediate and catastrophic. The following Monday, Volkswagen's stock price collapsed, plummeting by nearly 20% in a single day. By the end of the week, it had lost over a third of its value. On September 22nd, VW made another stunning admission. The defeat device wasn't just in the US cars. It was in 11 million vehicles worldwide. The scandal had gone global. Investigations were launched across Europe and Asia. Prosecutors raided VW's headquarters in Germany. The man at the top, CEO Martin Winterkorn, tried to hang on, issuing a statement that he was deeply sorry but giving no sign he would step down. That wasn't going to cut it. On September 23rd, just 5 days after the scandal broke, Winterkorn resigned, famously claiming he was not aware of any wrongdoing on my part. He was just the first of many executives and engineers to be fired or suspended. The financial toll was astronomical. The scandal has cost Volkswagen well over $33 billion in fines, settlements, and buyback programs. In the US alone, the company agreed to spend up to $14.7 billion to either buy back or fix the cars and compensate the owners they had deceived. But beyond the money was the environmental and human cost. Studies estimated the excess pollution would contribute to thousands of premature deaths worldwide from respiratory illnesses. And then there was the betrayal. Millions of people had bought a Volkswagen, believing they were making a responsible, even eco-friendly choice. The trust VW had spent over 70 years building was gone in an instant. The people's car had deceived the people. If you found this deep dive into one of history's biggest corporate scandals fascinating, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more stories that shape our world. We also want to hear from you in the comments. Has the Dieselgate scandal changed how you see the car industry or the brands you trust? Let us know below.